Hello everybody and welcome to another CB Show Tunes tutorial. Now today what we're going to be covering is how to destroy game objects so then they don't take up room on your game, as well as how to pretty much get yourself to a loading screen. And of course inside our next tutorial we will actually be setting up a canvas, but for now we're going to be focusing on just getting to that scene to set up a menu. Alright. So starting off, we're going to be making, of course, our destroy these objects so we don't end up with a mess. So the first thing that we need to do is add a script. I'm going to create a script called destroy on collision. It's actually going to be a time bomb, which is pretty useful. It just depends on your reference. So starting off, we're going to basically call it destroy on collision, of course, but all it's going to use is a public float called set destruct timer, which basically is like you're setting a time bomb or a microwave, right? You just select how much time you want it to be, and then you're going to set up a private float called timer, and this is how much it's going to decrease over time. So now under the void start function, you're going to sit there and say timer is equal to set destruct timer. So this timer is going to be equal to how much you set this as to be. So whenever your game object is instantiated or your game object appears inside the screen, this function will be called timer is equal to set destruct timer. Now over time, under the void update function, you're going to see this timer minus equals 1. So this is going to decrease 1 over every single frame. So I believe these games run at about 27 frames per second. So you're going to see this decrease by about that much every single second. So you'll have to set up the number pretty high, but this once this reaches 0, so you have this function right here called if timer is less than or equal to 0, then you're going to destroy game object. So basically saying we're going to destroy this individual object once the timer reaches 0. So let's take a look at the game and see how it works. So I'm going to select my object, make sure that it is selected, destroy on collision. I set my destruct timer to 300. So we're going to press play and watch as the fun happens. So we're going to go over to our scene, and as you can see, our game objects are going to destroy themselves, which is terrific. Alright, so now since we got our game objects being destroyed, we want to set up how to add a character to our scene. Now this process is actually very simple. All you need to do is get a character. So we're going to go over to objects, and you can download a character, create a character. I've got plenty of tutorials out there for that, and I know a lot of other people have got those as well. So if you guys need to know how to do that, just go check out some of those videos, and then we can actually get that taken care of. But for now, I have this character that I actually got from Mixamo at www.mixamo.com. Really good animation and character selection site. Of course, I'm not sure if you can use these for professional games, but I know for private games you can use them to your heart's content. So I, of course, downloaded this guy called Ty, really cool looking character, and I dragged him into my scene right here. Now, Ty is not individually, he doesn't have his own animation, his own game object or box collider. He doesn't have any character script added onto him, and that's why he's actually underneath the cube object. So whenever you drag your object into the scene and all, you want to drag it underneath the cube object, or whichever object has your script on it. So your script is actually the thing that's going to be moving your object. So your game object right here is only going to simulate that it's moving around. So of course you need to have a Animator Controller on your character. So what you need to do is come to wherever your player is, whichever file has your player in it. Then you're going to right click, create, and you're going to select Animator Controller. I'm not going to get too much into this because, like I said, I got plenty of tutorials on this. Um, but all I did was come over here and add a trigger called onJump, and I basically dragged my running animation into here and set it as my default from entry. So it's basically going to be my default. And then, of course, I added my running jump animation. And all I did was right click on my running, make transition to jump, and I selected this and has exit time is off and on jump is equal, right? So whenever we activate this trigger, this on jump function is going to work. And whenever we have this finish, we're going to have has exit time. So whenever this completes itself, it's going to go back to running. All right, so now time for the hard part, people. It's going to be horrible. Too much work. Okay, so starting off, we're going to need to cover a couple of variables inside of our unknown script or inside our character move script, which of course we covered inside our previous tutorial. So I just added a couple of variables inside this script. I marked it by saying for animations. You have a public and a private variable. The public is a game object player, and the private is an animator anim. And of course, you can see that over here, the player is a public game object, but you can't see the private because private's invisible on your editor. So we select our public game object player by dragging our character Ty into our player selection. Now we're going to basically come over here to the void start function, and it's going to sit there and say our animator, which is anim, is equal to player.gameobject.getComponent animator. So we're just selecting an animation. Now we need to activate our onJump function. So we're going to head over to where we swiped up, right? Now you could put your onJump function right here by just putting in each one of these, but if you notice in every single one of our lanes we have this jump function, right? So why would we want to put in every single one of those, right? So instead we're going to come down here to this public void jump function, and we're just going to add our animation right here by saying anim.setTrigger on jump. That way, whenever we run this jump function, it will jump for us. So that covers all that right there. All right. So finally, we're going to cover our game manager. The hardest part inside this entire tutorial, people. Okay. So the game manager basically is a script that basically allows us to complete the game. So as you can see, we have a couple functions here. Oh, before I actually do that, I'm going to come back over to my cube, and we're going to take this mesh render and just remove component. We don't need it. Okay, so we're going to go back over to the game manager, and we're going to take a look at this really, really fast. So starting off, you're going to need a couple variables. So we're going to go over to the game manager function and roll up. Okay, so if you look over here, we have this win location, lose location. We really don't need actually two of those. We just need one of those. And we're just going to say location move. Okay, so basically we're going to make a public string called location move. And if I click this over here real fast, it's going to update, and we're going to lose one of these, and we're just going to gain a location move, or should gain a location move. Location move. There we go. It was trying to figure out what was going on. Okay, so we're going to just say complete, or we'll just say pre-menu. Okay, so as you can see, we have this location move public string, and what that does is it's going to basically send us to that scene. So you'll create a scene with that name, and that will be your pretty much your win or lose scene right there. Next, we're going to make a public float called XP, public float, XP max, XP increase level, level, increase speed per level, and current speed. And you can see all these right here. So let's just, and public XP gain per time. Okay, so we're going to cover this real fast over here in the Unity editor. The XP is how much time it takes before you get to XP max. XP max is going to be how much XP it takes before you increase level. XP increase per level means that it's going to take longer for your XP to reach XP max. I know, really confusing. Increase speed per level. So every single time that your level increases, it's going to increase your speed by that amount. So basically right now, if you're at level 0, your speed's going to be 1. If you're at level 2, your speed's going to be 2. At level 3, your speed's going to be 3, and so on. Your current speed is equal to 0, right? Now, we actually want our current speed equal to 1 because our time scale is actually going to be equal to time scale dot 1, or is equal to 1 instead of 0, because 0 means it's not moving at all. Now you're going to say XP gain per time is a 0.25, so every single second that you're inside your game, it's going to gain by a 0.25. And of course you have a player object, you're going to select your cube and drag it into there. Okay, so now since we covered all that inside the Unity editor, we can go ahead and skip all those. Underneath the void start function, you're going to need time.timescale is equal to 1. So when the game starts, it's going to have timescale is equal to 1. Underneath the void update function, you're going to say current speed is equal to time.timescale, which is going to be equal to 1. Then you're going to say XP plus is equal to XP gain per time. So I pretty much explained that over here. It's like you're just going to increase the speed, or you're going to increase the XP for every XP gained over time. And of course, we're going to say if XP is greater than or equal to XP max, then you're going to increase level, blah, blah, blah. Time.timescale is equal to current speed, which is equal to the original time, plus increased speed per level. So however much we increase speed. Now keep in mind that whenever you're increasing speed, it has to be an integer, which means a whole number. You cannot have it as a float, mainly due to the fact that for some reason they just don't want you to be that way. Now you have to name it as a float because this is a float. So just make sure that you have a whole number float instead of a partial number float. Alright, so underneath a new function, we're going to call void on trigger enter collider col. So this is basically going to say a game object collides with this object. So that game object's now name is col. So we're going to say if the collider.gameObject.compare tag is equal to player, we're going to go over to our scene manager, .load scene, location move. So we're going to go to that location once we win. So we're going to come over here to our assets. We're going to just delete those two scenes and right click, create. We're going to add a scene and we're just going to call this pre-menu. So now if we press play, we're going to watch as our character just runs along, and he runs along and runs along, and he gets hit, and of course it should take us to, oh, that's another thing. Your game will not run if you do not have your scene added inside there. So you have to add this pre-menu into there, and then of course you're going to have to build it. So let me get my phone real fast. Since of course it's being built on Android and all, it has to have your phone connected. So let's go ahead and build and run this. So we're going to build save. Yes, I want to replace it. It will take about, I don't know, depending on how long it wants to do this. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get it done. Blah, blah, blah. Ah, there we go. Really fast. I know the asset bundle has not been done, but who cares? Alright, so we're gonna go and just I'm gonna go run by the script really slowly so you guys can see it while this thing is loading up. Um, but yeah. Okay. It should be about done loading, which will be terrific. Okay. So it finally finished. Now this week we're not actually going to be showing it on the individual phone, mainly because I did actually show you guys on the, I believe a couple days ago I actually showed you guys a little demonstration on the phone, but for now my camera's not working that great. So we're just going to go ahead and press play just so we could see how it runs and make sure that everything's running properly. And there we go, we are on our new scene. As you can see, pre-menu is now selected. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.